Okay, so conditional statements part three. We're going to get into some more advanced forms of conditional statements and see some more advanced uses of them, including the switch statement and nest. So we'll start out with the switch statement, then we'll go into the nested ifs, and then have some more words of caution. I'll also show you how to do a single line if. So last time we looked at using else if and finally else. So we started out with if, and then we had more conditions with the else if, and finally ended up with the else. So here's an example. This is from the Malik textbook. As the score is greater than or equal to 90, the grade is A. Else if it's greater than or equal to 80, it's a B. Greater than or equal to 70, C. Greater than or equal to 60, it's a D. Otherwise, it falls into the F category. So the more cases we have, the uglier it gets to do these long if, else statements. You get a lot of else ifs in there. And so the question is, can we simplify things to make our code easier to read and write? We can, and we can do that with the switch statement, although it usually only works on a individual value. So here's an example, switching based upon a value grade, which is a character. Case of A, the grade point is 4.0, and then we have a break. So that gets us out of the switch statement. Case B, C out the grade is 3.0, C the grade is 2.0, D the grade is 1.0, and F the grade point is 0.0. And as a default, if they enter something else, then we can say the grade is invalid. And again, we need to have that break to stop us from going on to the next case. So one of the cool features of switches is that you can actually go on to the next case. So here we have 4.0, 3.0, 2.0. And then, if we don't want to talk about it, in case of a D or an F, then we can say, let's just not talk about it. So we don't have that break between the D and the F. And then as a default, what planet are you on where that is valid grade? So, for example, like a K. Don't think I've ever given a K in my history of being a professor, because I don't think that one exists. There's definitely an I, though, but that one's very, very rare. So switch statement switches on an expression that gets evaluated first, and then the value of the expression determines which action is taken. One or more statements can follow the case label, and then the break statement usually appears after each case and then breaks us out of that case. You don't have to do it for everyone, but it's generally a good idea when you're structuring the switch statement. And it's always good style to have a default case that helps with debugging and error trapping, in case somebody enters something that's not valid. So should I use the if, else type statement or the switch? It depends on the setting. So, say we had menu options labeled 1 to 100 and the user needs to select one. I think there would be a good option for a switch statement versus an if style statement. If we wanted to break up numbers into 3 ranges, that one definitely the if, because we can use those Boolean expressions and evaluate them and get them into the 3 ranges pretty quickly. Want to accept a string but don't care about the case, that one also I think an if. And finally, making a game with keyboard controls, that one, a switch statement would work really well. You can also do single line ifs, and this is the author saying the brackets waste space, so they can be omitted for a single line if. So instead of if x is greater than 9,000, we can say it's over 9,000, like the old meme. Otherwise, lame under 9,000. Thing is that there's only one statement in there, so we can actually simplify that to just remove the brackets, because it'll execute one statement afterwards automatically as part of it. I put the brackets in almost all the time because I may want to add more things in there. So I don't worry too much about the wasted space. Some people prefer the second style. The only difficulty is if you have more than one statement, then it won't get executed as a block. and it can kind of mess things up and make it a little harder to debug. So I always go for the first style there myself. If there's no brackets that interprets a single next line as the body of the if else, and style manuals again disagree on whether that's good or not. I'll leave it up to your personal style if it's a single line, but I usually personally go for the blocks. You can also put if statements inside of other if statements. That's called nesting. So if x is greater than 0, then we go into that block and then we see if y is greater than 0. And if that's true, then x and y are both positive. Otherwise, x is positive, but y is not. Because this one, the top one evaluated as true, the bottom one evaluated as false. So there you would have x greater than 0, but y less than or equal to 0. And some more words of caution. Relational operators can be applied to variables of type string, but you have to be careful there. Strings are compared character by character, starting with the first character, and they continue until either a mismatch is found or all characters are found equal. You know, if you're doing a equal. If two strings are of different lengths are compared and the comparison is equal up until the last character of the shorter string, the shorter string is still less than the longer string. And strings don't work in the switch case. So what we can do is often just see in a single character and then switch on it, or take the first character of words that all start with different characters and then switch on that. So for example, Y for yes, M for no, or Q for quit. Else, the last but not least is the dangling else problem. The else gets associated with the most recent if statement that has not been paired with an else, and that's regardless of the indentation. Here, indentation doesn't matter. In some other languages, it does matter. So in this example, if x is greater than 42, then we go and see if x is greater than 9,000, output it's over 9,000. Otherwise, output it's less than 42. Now, you would think that the else was paired with the first if, but it's actually paired with the one if x is greater than 9,000. So say we put in 8,000, then that's definitely more than 42. Then we check 8,000 is not over 9,000. So we would output less than 42. And this dangling else can cause some difficulties in debugging. It's somewhat hard to spot initially. So I always make sure the indentation matches up and put the appropriate braces so that things match up as well. If you have 58, you would also get less than 42. 8,000 in my example was a bit more extreme, but you can see the problem with that dangling else. So that's it. Thanks so much for watching.